Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you might be. Welcome to our sixth webinar out of 7. Just want to give you a brief commercial for things that are available on the LS portal. There are now 2 more of this year's webinars on the Lutheran School portal for your viewing and your listening. And also for NLSA current information and news, you might look at our blog spot that I will paste in the chat box shortly. Our next webinar is scheduled for Tuesday, November 29th. It is a webinar from West Portal Lutheran School of San Francisco that we needed to reschedule. They will share information about their Partners in Faith program, where church and school come together to share Jesus with their non-church families, in addition to sharing how they prepare students for their challenging high school application process. Today, however, we'll hear from the team of St. Paul Lutheran High School, Concordia, Missouri. Our presenters are Reverend Paul Mayo, John Bobson, Andrea Schmidt, and Reverend Bill Heine. They will share specific strategies of integration that include peer ministry training, English language development classes, international travel for domestic students, athletic and academic teams, and intentionality and social integration from meal times to residential hall life. Having served on that visitation team, it is truly a fascinating international campus. As the presentation is made, please type your questions in the chat box and they will do their best to answer them during the course of the presentation. Let's begin with prayer. Heavenly Father, be with us now during our time together as we hear how you have blessed St. Paul Lutheran High School with leaders and national and international students who grow in their faith and relationships through peer ministry strategies and relational activities. Thank you for this school and all Lutheran schools and their staffs as we too are blessed to serve. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Welcome, team. We turn this over to you.
Thank you very much, and welcome from St. Paul Lutheran High School in Concordia, Missouri. Today's presentation, as was mentioned, will focus primarily on the assimilation of international students into our Lutheran school systems. And while this may be of interest primarily for the high school and high schools out there, I have found that there are a number of grade schools who are also looking into getting some visas and applications for the opportunity to do this at the junior high level, 7th and 8th graders at least. And so we welcome those individuals also. As was mentioned, with us today are a number of faculty and staff who will introduce various sections and then hopefully answer your questions. We are kind of looking on the screen here, and if you have some questions, we'll try to answer them today, but if not today, maybe afterwards we can get back to you as well. So to get right into this, why would a school want to do an international program? Well, for a number of schools, and certainly ours was the case, there is usually a funding issue. Up until 1986, St. Paul Lutheran High School was one of the 10 preparatory schools of the Synod. It was a 6-year gymnasium program, 4 years high school, 2 years junior college, and in 1986, a lot of things changed. The college department was closed. And so with the loss of students, and more critically, the loss of synodical funds, the school began to look at creative funding alternatives, which of course were legal. The inaugural years of having the international program, I think, as one looks back at it, were somewhat painful. The quality of students was often questionable. There was a learning curve as to what to do with students whose English was not up to par and so forth. A working assimilation process had not yet been established, but that's been 20 years ago, and I think we have done a few things to address a lot of those questions. I know it sounds crass, but I think a lot of us probably are getting into this sort of venue simply because of the finances, of the money. On the other hand, we are Christian institutions, and it won't take long for us to discover that there are other important benefits to these things as well. Evangelism obviously hits the top of the list. Diverse worldviews, it becomes a catalyst for improving one's teaching methods and curriculum development. As a school, we have all been moved, as it were, by God's hand to be mission-minded individuals, and that means not just the teachers, but also students become mission-minded, parents and other supporters as well. Are there any questions that the team here has? Otherwise, we'll keep going. Obviously, for those of us who were just beginning the program, there needed to be some research. And so if I was going to suggest to someone who was interested in getting into an international program at their school, probably the first step would be going onto a government website, and I would suggest the SEVIS website, SEVIS. It is the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. This is a government agency. They have tutorials and frequently asked questions and various ways in which you can learn about the program straight from their website. They update it all the time, and it's a very good program, I think. A lot of the things on that website are self-explanatory, and really we wouldn't have the time here at this time to go through all the steps that would be necessary in becoming basically a government agency that is able to issue visas. There's a lot of responsibility that goes along with that. I will mention here then that most schools would be designated as a J1 program school, and that simply means that international students will be able to attend that particular school for 1 year. The school is responsible for issuing and maintaining the legality of visas, finding homes, not just over the holidays, but throughout the year, making sure that there is a sufficient proficiency in English, that there are proper insurance needs met, and so forth. After that year, the student will either have to return home, or if they wish to continue or graduate from an American high school, perhaps to go on to an American university, they will have to find an F1 school. An F1 school is a school that has dormitories, that is able to house students 24/7 and so forth, and is able to do that for multiple years, more than just one. And since, of course, this is our little advertisement for us, we are an F1 school because we do have dormitories. We would be happy to receive international referrals from other Lutheran schools after that initial year. In fact, you could do the work of getting them assimilated already somewhat before they come here, and that would be great. Okay, I would next like to introduce Mr. John Bobson. He's our Dean of Faculty. He would like to talk a bit about the education of international.
Thank you, Pastor Mel, and good morning, good afternoon to those that are online with us today from Concordia, Missouri. I'd like to shift gears here for just a little bit and talk about some of the very practical aspects of assimilation of international students into the academic and also the social life on campus. So allow me to speak of some nuts and bolts, if you would, of academic and social integration. An intentional increase in international student population will bring unique challenges and also opportunities to your Lutheran classrooms. Perhaps one of the first things that instructors would notice is that learning styles of European students as well as Asian students can be quite different to what we are used to, especially different from their American counterparts. This is partly because students have experienced quite unique classroom environments in the past before coming to our classrooms, and also quite different instructional techniques as well, some of which they may not be familiar with at all. Let me be specific. Math instructors, for example, may become aware of either a complete dependency upon electronic calculators, as is true of students coming from many European cultures, and a nearly complete void of their use in some Asian cultures where mental computation and computational skills and thinking skills are really quite solid. In some cultures, homework is always optional for the student. It may not be in yours, it certainly is not in ours. And in others, a communal sharing of written work is seen as normal and relational. So a careful and a consistent handling of clear policy regarding these issues and this approach to learning in the school is very helpful and instructive for all students, but especially for international students learning the culture of our school environments. An intentional increase in international student population will bring opportunities and challenge to life on the school campus, in and now out of the classroom as well. Peer ministry training is an excellent way to involve domestic students in integrating international students into the school fabric, both domestic and international. We have used the opportunity of our daily morning homeroom advisor-led PMT, peer ministry training activities to emphasize our oneness. This is especially effective early in the school year. Our active student government includes several life groups, including spiritual life, social life, athletic life, and now also international life, where students plan activities and events inclusive of the entire student body. Organized sports, whether intramural or varsity, are beneficial meeting places for domestic and international cooperation. School team sports are new to many international students. They simply do not have them as part of the school extracurricular program. We have developed a soccer program that promotes a cohesive team spirit and involves domestic and many international students from around the world in varsity competition with other schools. And finally, for our domestic students, we sponsor a summer travel program that takes students each summer to Norway, to Europe, to China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, home countries to many of our students, this to acquaint them firsthand with the culture of students coming to us from these various places around the world. Indeed, an international presence on campus is, we found, very beneficial for domestic students as well as for international students as well. I'd like now to take the opportunity to introduce to you Mrs. Andrea Schmidt, and she will talk to you specifically about ELD instruction, and I think also include a few of our international students here as well. Mrs. Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Bobson. Hi, my name is Andrea Schmidt, and I coordinate the English Language Development Program, we call it ELD, at St. Paul Lutheran High School. And in reflecting on our work with international students who are English language learners, I have noted 6 important components of our ELD program at St. Paul Lutheran High School. I would like to share them with you today. First, get connected to a university program if at all possible. We have a relationship with the University of Central Missouri in Warrensburg, and their department is quite happy to work with us because they see our current students as their potential students. I have had the opportunity to sit in on their classes. They have invited us to attend ESL book fairs on their campus, and it provided us with some very nice sample materials. We have had students who attended their summer program, and they are just an excellent resource, have an extensive library within their department, and they keep us informed of cultural events being held on their campus. Finally, the group at UCM is serious about professional development. They stay abreast regarding ESL conferences and are often willing to split travel or hotel costs. So first, get connected to a university if at all possible. Secondly, find a way to initially evaluate the English skills of the international population. We use the MAC2, that's MAC Roman numeral 2, standardized test of English language skills. It evaluates speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Before school begins in August, I get a list of all new international students so that I will have an estimation of the number of tests, seats, time, and volunteers needed. The first week of school, we spend the ELD class period and what we call 8th hour and after school completing this test. It is truly an intense week, but very important for our teachers to have accurate knowledge of each student's ability. If students score at our agreed upon level here at SPLHS, that would be high, intermediate, or advanced in all 4 categories, the student tests out and his or her schedule is changed. To be efficient with this testing time, plan to use other teachers and volunteers. They can serve as proctors, graders for the bubble answer sheets, and maybe even makeup test givers. Of course, once testing is over, we conference with each student, sharing scores, explaining the results, and setting their own personal goals. A third important feature of our English language development program, of course, is the curriculum. Implement an engaging curriculum. These students crave variety just like any other learner. We work at making sense of idioms, writing and presenting dialogues, mastering the 72 phonograms of the English language through the Yes Phonics program. We are learning and using SAT vocabulary words. Yes, just because they are English language learners does not mean they don't want to be challenged. We work on writing, especially sentence structure, paragraph structure, transitions, formal paper conventions, and plagiarism. We cover grammar daily as a warm-up and then as needed based on their writing and speaking evaluations. Generally, we must review comma rules, article adjectives, an and the, and pronouns. Having fun with this class is so essential. I know they are making English progress when they laugh at my jokes. So far, connect with the university, find an evaluation tool you are comfortable with, and line out the curriculum. Number 4, if possible, secure a volunteer with a heart for the ELD ministry, or a paraprofessional, or perhaps even a team teacher. Our school has been blessed with a wonderful volunteer, Mrs. Jane Hertwig of Alma, Missouri. She has specific knowledge of the Yes Phonics program that we use, and she is also on fire to teach our international students about their Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. We have a flexible working relationship. She works with the students 2 class periods most weeks. Jane brings some serious energy to our classroom and has been a blessing to all of us. I think it is important to integrate this additional person into the program for several reasons. Number 1, teaching ELD can be overwhelming. Accept the help and avoid burnout. Number 2, take advantage of the time to catch up on grading, planning, or professional reading. It will make you a better ELD teacher. Number 3, she has and could have and has served as a one-on-one tutor for students with various needs at different times. And number 4, she is a support system for me. So maybe you've figured this out by now, but the fifth important idea of working in this ELD program is relationships. First and foremost, the most important element is truly relationships. If students do not feel like you know them or that you do not care about them, their approach to the class will be going through the motions. Just get through the class. They will not see the value of the curriculum you are presenting. Again, have fun with them whenever possible. Strike up conversations outside of the classroom, perhaps at a school event. Find out what their interests are. Fostering relationships is one of the great strengths of the SPLHS faculty. And to go along with relationships, number 6. The final piece of this ELD program puzzle is knowing cultures. In our case, this year, the ELD class is all Asian students. However, the students know who is from Hong Kong versus China versus Taiwan. They all speak Chinese, but they view themselves as extremely different culturally, and they are. In order to have a good grip on the classroom dynamics, I must know how Chinese students feel about those from Hong Kong and where those students from Taiwan fit into the mix. This knowledge helps with things like seating charts, group projects, classroom management issues in general. So to review, the ELD program at St. Paul involves our connection with the folks at University of Central Missouri, testing all students with the MAC 2 test of English language skills, an engaging curriculum, a volunteer with a heart for the ELD ministry, fostering relationships, and educating myself and other faculty members about cultures. I hope these 6 essential elements of organizing an ELD program have given you a clear picture of how we at St. Paul Lutheran High School reach students from around the globe. And today I have asked 2 of my current ELD students to sit in on our webinar. You guys want to join me? First, you want to scoot in, right? See you two? That's great. All right, first we have Tammy Shen, and she is in 10th grade and from Chiayi, Taiwan. And next to Tammy is Gio Pan, and he's a junior from Shanghai, China. And I believe for both of these students, this is their first year of studying abroad, right? Yes. Okay. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions, Gio and Tammy, and there might be questions later on from the people viewing. Now, my first question is, Gio, why did you choose to attend St. Paul Lutheran High School? What did you hope to gain from studying abroad?
First, I chose the St. Paul Lutheran High School because in the Lutheran Church, in the Lutheran schools, so we can using things for the awful one, just be like a families at the schools, and then and then we can communicate with the other school students. It's easy to learn English. That is why I chose the St. Paul Lutheran High School.
Tammy, what about you?
St. Paul Lutheran High School because all schools, business, all religions,
You said it was your sister's school? And do you mean that you went to Concordia Middle School in Taiwan?
Yeah.
So there's a little connection there for Tammy, I'm guessing, right? And that's how you found out about us. So we were talking earlier, how many years did you study English before you came to study at St. Paul, Gio?
I think it's 12 years because at Shanghai, just we at the classroom, we learn how to say just like A, B, C. It's just a long time.
Tammy?
I have learned English for
then the next question is, how is learning English different in your school than what you're finding here at St. Paul?
I think the difference. I think the difference between the China and American study is at the class, because at China there are almost 40 or 50 person in classroom, and and at the American just almost 10 or 20 in a small classroom. That at China, just only teachers say that we must learn, and the important things he told me. But as American teacher, we always has or the students always has a group. We communicate with others, talk about my ideas, rehearse suggestions, then we can get together. And we also like some game, play some games, and make the class very interesting. You don't feel boring, and just China, the students always study, do homework, and have tests. It's not very interesting. Sometimes you'll feel boring.
Okay, I'm going to paraphrase what Gio said, although I think he was quite loud. He really said in China it was a teacher-centered classroom and very little variety in learning. In American high school, at least here, he's finding it more interesting and a lot of different ways to learn, and he likes that, I think, and the opportunity to discuss also, right? I have another question here for Tammy. What do you think is the best part about studying in America? Stop you there. She said she can do everything with English here, and it's not just reading from a book. English is everything. What else are you going to say?
English not only factual.
She says it includes the culture and everything for the American people. It's not just a subject. So that's nice. What do you think is the most difficult part about going to an American high school now?
The first thing is about the students, the people living in the Concordia, because and when I first go to school, I don't know everyone here, but they still say hello to me. It's more, I think that I feel they are very friendly, and as China, if not every person will say hello. You know them, they will be say hello. If you don't know, it's just like a stranger.
So you like the small town
Yes.
and the friendliness, but what's hard about this experience? What is not easy?
Not easy. I think is the essay, because we are the international students, and we go to American is for learning English, and I'm not very good at English, so it's very hard to write a essay just in English, and just the essay almost 300 and 400 and much more words, so it's hard to get started.
To reiterate what Gio said, it's very difficult to write the essays, and I think in many of the classes here at St. Paul, the teachers require a considerable amount of writing and more than just a 100-word paragraph. So he said that's been very challenging for him. Tammy, what about you? What has been a hard transition to going to an American high school?
I have learned English. I don't want to talk here. I can know why. It's so difficult.
She said that even though she's studied English for 6 years, she finds it very difficult to speak out in English. Is it because you're worried about your grammar? Or is it because you are?
I'm very worried about my needs.
We talk about that a lot in ELD class, that they are so concerned that their grammar must be perfect. And we say we would rather have you trying and raising your hand and talking to the teacher and talking to each other, and that the students here at St. Paul are not judging you on your grammar. They just want to be your friend. So, what do you think about the ELD class?
I think it's interesting because first things is it's all from China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong,
That's true.
and just we can learn something that we can't learn at China, just like the idioms, and like some vocabulary words and some culture from the American, do American not do. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting, and sometimes Mr. Smith's joke is pretty interesting.
Thank you very much. Gio said that he thinks ELD class is interesting because he learns things he wouldn't learn in an English class in China. The idioms are a big part of it. What are some idioms you learned?
It's like holding a horse, what's your whistle?
What's your whistle?
Yeah, and in the dark.
Oh, being in the dark about something.
Yeah.
That's true. Sure. And we do take the time in ELD class to also talk about, he said culture, but maybe even things at St. Paul Lutheran High School that are just hard for them to understand, a way of doing things. And so we take that time to clarify some of the things that are going on, or why we have to change our schedule for a big event or something like that. Or if they have questions with their other homework, it's pretty, I think, a safe place for us all. Right? Tammy, what has been the most helpful part of ELD class for you so far?
ELD class taught me more English details.
The details of writing, listening, speaking, and reading have helped her. Well, I could go on and on with these two because they are such delightful students. But if you have any questions for us, we'll take them now. Otherwise, I'll introduce our next speaker.
Well, go ahead. We'll do this a little bit later. Yeah, sure.
Okay, next is Pastor Bill Heine, and he will be speaking on
The spiritual life.
spiritual life.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, kids.
Hello, I'm Bill Heine. I teach religion and English here at St. Paul Lutheran High School, and I'm also the Dean of Chapel. I'll speak to you about instruction in our religion program, and also about some assimilation regarding religious activities and things that we involve the students in. To begin with, in the area of religion instruction, we have found that international students do present some unique challenges. You heard some of them just a little bit ago, and that is learning to understand students as they speak, as well as being able to communicate, often some difficult concepts as we do in religion. And because of that, sometimes the communication barrier gets in the way of our religion as well as other types of instruction. But as far as the religious curriculum goes, and there should be some PowerPoints coming up here in a little bit, but I'll just give you some background as we're waiting those. Many students come with little or no knowledge of the Bible. Now, you just saw two exceptional students, I think. They came here because of the religious curriculum, and they came here, at least in part, so that they could learn of Jesus. However, we do get a number of students who come with little or no knowledge of the Bible, and often with little or no knowledge even of Christ. Sometimes their worldviews are incompatible with Christianity, Some have very secular worldviews, and those secular worldviews occasionally do leave little room for the supernatural. They have been well trained sometimes as materialists and as evolutionists, and so those have to be addressed in the classroom. And sometimes they are, if a student feels comfortable, they will talk to you afterwards. Occasionally, a student will feel comfortable enough to speak up in class, and that challenge becomes something that is discussed then. Some have worldviews that allow for the supernatural, but in a very limited way. For example, some believe in ghosts. Some believe in the possibility of getting help from dead relatives and things like that. Occasionally, we have encountered some hostility to the Christian faith. Some are quite hardened in their secular worldviews and are offended at the requirements to attend chapel and church, as well as take religion classes. Of course, none of that discourages us. In fact, it encourages us, and we view it as an opportunity to carry out mission work right here in the middle of Missouri. And it is a great opportunity, and it has been a very fruitful one as well. We also face the more common theological challenges. Christian international students often come to us with Arminian background, even though they may not know it. And occasionally we have encountered a Catholic or a Calvinist, but they are far fewer in number for us. Well, I think now we're ready to take a look at slide 1, and this is placing students. We're now on to slide 3, but if we can backtrack to slide 1, that would be helpful. Thank you. To accommodate the varying levels of our students, both international and domestic, we provide 3 possible starting points for entering students. And you can see on the slide some with no background, some with some religious background, and then with much background. Now this is based really on, we don't do a pre-testing for this. This is based on their application and information that they give us in that application, and also some discussion with the recruitment director and the assistant principal who actually assigns the classes. Most of our international students probably come in category 1, having no background and little or no Sunday school. But as you heard just a few moments ago from Tammy and Gio, that there are a number of students that come in with a more significant background, and I would say that at least half of our international students do move right into that second group, which is the Bible history, having some background. And just minimal kinds of requirements for those you can see as well, being able to find books in the Bible and having some idea of Old Testament and New Testament stories. Those with much background tend to be those students that come from our parochial schools, our Lutheran schools, and those students then we put into a systematics class, which some of you probably on this list would remember systematics being taught from Edward Kaler's A Summary of Christian Doctrine. Well, guess what? We still use it. Now we can go on to slide 2. This is our student progression as they partake of the schools. Now I don't know if there should be something else coming up on that slide, so someone could hit the button. It will show the progression. No? All right, we go on back. I don't know if it's visible on yours. It's not visible on mine. There is a progression of classes starting with the Intro to Bible and then Bible history. Then they go to systematics. And the last one that we have found very helpful part in addition to our program is apologetics. And then you can see for the second level of students, those who enter at Bible history go on to systematics. They go on to apologetics. Then they can do either church history or they might go into a comparative doctrine class. And finally, those students who do enter at a higher level are able to work through apologetics in their second year, church history or comparative doctrine, and then an Old Testament, New Testament college class, which is taught by Mr. Bobson, and he then serves as an adjunct professor for Concordia in Seward. If that's available, if you can see that, you can see things that I'm talking about. What's not listed on there is the honors class, and when we identify some students that we would really like to pull out of the classes and have them involved in something that maybe gives them a little more direction or challenge in terms of religion, we pull them out and have them in an honors class with our executive director, Pastor Mail. And I think we're ready now for that third slide, if you would please. Third slide is the ministerial recruitment slide. It's been on there a couple of times already, so you might be able to see it at another time. Anyway, it identifies the way in which we try to meet one of our goals as a school. One of our goals is, and it's a chief goal among us, is to steer capable students into becoming professional church workers. And it is then our desire that they would consider those kinds of professions, and in order to do that, we have found the best way to do it is just direct communication with those students, to ask them about it, to talk to them about it, pull them in aside, and to speak to them about being professional church workers. And then, of course, giving them the information that they would need if they so desired to attend one of the Concordias. And I always encourage the students to attend either the Taste of the Sam or the Vocatio program. Both of those are at the St. Louis Seminary, or the Christ Academy, which is at the Fort Wayne Seminary. We have in the past also taken some trips to some of our different colleges so that they could see the campuses for those students that are interested. I should make one other mention, and that is that our religion curriculum, the outlines for our curriculum, are listed at the bottom on the, I think it's file 11, 11 file, under the files part that's on the screen. You can actually download our religion curriculums there, and you'll be able to see the course guidelines that we have set forth for each of those classes. Also, one other thing that we make an exception of, we try in all of our classes to encourage the students to speak English all the time so that they're learning English. However, in the religion classes, we do allow them to use English, Chinese translations so that they are able to understand what they are reading, that they might better understand the Word of God. We also have assimilation of our students into our community. We encourage them in the religious faith with worship, of course. Mr. Bodson mentioned the daily homerooms where we gather together and read a Bible verse or share a devotion. And through those is a kind of scripture saturation, which means that they have the awareness of scripture brought to their attention each day. We have chapel 3 times a week, centered around an annual theme, and all the texts then are coordinated with that annual theme. This year our theme being All for One. Sunday worship is required of our students. St. Paul Lutheran Church is 2 blocks away, and so all of them are required to walk down and attend church there. If they do not, we do also offer an international service here on campus, and that one is usually done by Pastor Mail, and he gears that specifically toward our international students, and sometimes at a level that is they are able to comprehend and understand a little more easily. Earlier mentioned also was the International Life Committee for the student government, and the International Life Committee helps to assimilate students in their life here in America, and we try to bring some things from their homeland. For example, we celebrate the Asian New Year, and we often or occasionally will have cultural meals served by some of our students in the dining hall. On a last spiritual note, we also have some dorm devotions that go on. These are usually led by our students, and this year we have some of our spiritual life people leading dorm devotions for us in the dorms. Are there some other questions that you might have for me? And if not, I know that Pastor Mail has much more that he wants to tell you.
Okay, and there was a question that I will answer right now. One of them was, what is your makeup of international students? I think this year we have around 95 international students. Our student body is 209, so you can see that it's almost half. We have over 24 Norwegian students. We get usually that many every year on their junior year. 3 Slovakians, a few dozen Koreans, just about as many Chinese in Hong Kong and Taiwanese, a smattering of students from Vietnam, Thailand, and a couple from Kenya this year, and one even from Madagascar. So it changes from year to year. We don't have any from South America this year, but we have had in the past. Also, the question was raised, how do you connect with international student families? And I'd have to say initially it begins with the application registration process. And we have forms that are online, and you can certainly go to our website and see what those look like. But in there is a survey of interests. There is a student essay, and that does a few things for us. The student essay, first of all, enables us to see what the students' goals are and what their interests are. It also gives us an idea of what their English writing proficiency is going to look like. Now, of course, they could cheat, obviously. They could have somebody else write it for them, and I think we've found that to be the case sometimes. But it gives us a little bit, at least a background to see where they might be. Then there's a parent statement which is also there to enable us to figure out if they agree with their kids, their students' goals and desires. It's interesting, I think, as I read through both American and international essays, how the goals of an international is pretty high. You know, they want to be the Secretary of Education for their country, or an ambassador or something like that, and they're very serious about this. A lot of Americans, they just want to be a football player or something like that, and it's just interesting to see the drive sometimes that these students bring to our campus. And then secondly, there, of course, is Edline. I noticed a lot of schools are using some sort of online grading thing, and Edline is very familiar to a lot of people. Of course, if a parent doesn't speak any English at all, this generally goes to their agent, and they would have to explain it to them. But Edline is a good way, I think, or any of these things are good ways for parents to at least understand where their students are grade-wise. Students generally these days Skype, they text, and they're angry when our web is down because they and their parents really keep a lot of contact with each other. I had a parent give me a phone call and say they couldn't Skype their kid last night. It's been 2 days. You know, and it wasn't too many years ago when it would be weeks before they would have that kind of contact, and now they're expecting it every day. Here I would also like to mention that financially there is some contacts that I think are important and maybe haven't been mentioned but certainly will arise. If you're going to do an international program, you really ought to not only do credit cards but also the ability to do wire transfers. I was kind of amazed this past 2 years that there's one of our Concordia University's system schools that does not do wire transfers. And so one of our former students continues to wire transfer all her tuition and money to us, and we write a check and send it off to that other college. And then they wonder why they can't get more international students. You have to be a little bit friendly. It may you know, be 2 or 3% fee or whatever, but we have to be a little bit friendly to those type of desires. Okay, finally, we're going to talk about some social assimilations. Bill mentioned the student government things, but there's also things that the kids like to do, and one of them would be sports. And soccer, of course, is up at the top of the list of an international activity that appeals to many. Band, choir, I think it's interesting that we get a lot of strings players from the Asian countries because it's what they choose to do. A lot of international students aren't able to do the vast array of activities that an American student is used to. I mean, we're used to going out for 3 or 4 sports, band and choir and whatever else. They are often able to only choose one thing, and it's either sports or music or you know, chess or whatever it is that they have. And so they sometimes are pleased to be able to try and expand those horizons when they come here. Besides Asian New Year, we have celebrated other things such as Cinco de Mayo, what is it, Santa Lucia for our Scandinavian friends. And they are also interested in some of our holidays, such as Halloween, Thanksgiving. They're kind of, especially it's their first year here, they're really excited about what Thanksgiving Day looks like, and of course Valentine's Day. More than anything, though, they're not unlike a lot of teenagers. They like to talk about themselves, and so it's usually pretty easy to get them to open up and say, you know, how is it at home and so forth. And we had mentioned our peer ministry training. Some of those questions will touch on more than just linguistics. They will ask about how their schools are different and how they are the same. What is it that you do for dress code? And a lot of the Asians would be surprised that we don't have uniforms for us here. Tobacco use, drug abuse, sexual activity before marriage, divorce. A lot of the different social norms are not the same. And then, of course, we get down to the religion questions that are, of course, important to us. I think we have found that many of the ideas and attitudes about us as Americans or even as Christians come from American television and movies, and this is probably not a good thing. There's a great fear amongst a lot of international parents that there's way too much violence, and they might very well be right, but they imagine it's around every corner. And one of the reasons they choose St. Paul Lutheran High School in Concordia, Missouri, is because they stick their finger in the middle of the map and they realize there aren't going to be any hurricanes there. They're probably going to be far away from a city. We're about 40 miles outside of Kansas City. And it's a small town, a small school, and so they want the safety aspect. For those of you who are in cities, that is something that you're going to have to address with those parents, that there is a safety aspect, and that the television and movies probably overemphasize a lot of our culture in negative ways. But then, of course, you have to be safe. You have to actually provide a safe environment and make sure that comes across. Let's see, there was a question up here that I was supposed to look at. Oh, do the students remain with the high school or with families during the summer months? No, they don't. We do have some summer programs that are connected, as was said before, with University of Central Missouri. We've had Japanese camps here for a couple weeks, but they usually go home, and it takes me about 2 months to get the campus ready for the next year. So we don't really have a big summer program here, although I think a smattering of individuals might stay in some families' homes around the area. All right. I think the benefits for your domestic students is also tremendous. They're getting exposure to international life and international students around the globe. And one of our goals is to prepare our students for the next level, whether they be domestic or international. We began about 3 years ago a international trip program where if you went to, and usually we choose a country which we've had students, and so the first year we had some Lithuanian gal who said, why don't you come over to Lithuania? We went to Lithuania and Moscow and Bratislava. We had some students there, and so they host us, and they become the hosts, and we become the visitors. We learn a little bit about their country. The next year we went to China and Hong Kong, and very similar things have happened over the years. With that, then, a lot of our day students who don't live in the dorm have the opportunity, if they go on these trips, to live in a dorm for a semester. Room and board is then for free for that semester, at least one semester out of the next year. And they understand a little bit more what it's like to be at the next level, whether you're in college or whatever, and you can live in a dorm area supervised that is safe and Christian, and also have that international experience at the same time. I think as we conclude here, we have to realize that there are a lot of benefits to programs such as these. There's friendships that have crossed international borders. We've had some actual marriages that have crossed international borders. But our students and our faculty have had to become and enjoy becoming intentional about their Christian witness, as well as being educated in worldviews. The concept of a Christian vocation moves outside then the provincial box and expanded into horizons that include international mission fields. Some of our students are interested in going into the mission field, and I believe then we prepare them academically, socially, and spiritually to enter that next level of educational life. We are also now looking into teacher exchanges with other Lutheran schools around the world. There is a discussion of even developing a standardized synodical curriculum that can flow into our terminal schools from our secondary schools, especially in the area of religion education. All right. That would be about it for us. Did you see any other questions up on the board, gentlemen? How's the soccer team doing? The soccer team won their first district game, and they're going to play their second one today, so I don't know. Our soccer team generally does pretty well because international students play soccer better than American students, is my guess. We even started the program not to win any games, but to get our international students congealing. Sometimes we had too many Koreans together and they would clump, and that would mean that they don't interact a lot with any other students. And so the soccer program has really widened that up because they want to win, they want to play, and they need to communicate, and that has to be in English. So, math team. Oh, we can talk about our math team. We haven't lost a math thing in about 6 or 8 years. Our Asian students are very good at math, and even our academic team has done well, probably because of a lot of the talents and abilities in those areas that the international community brings to us. Okay, Stu or Terry, what do you have? Any closing words that you would like to bring to us? Looks like we have about 4 minutes.
Looks like we have a slice of heaven there, Pastor Mayo.
Oh, it's
what heaven might look like. Tremendous opportunities for international students as well as our national students, and we're just so grateful for your faculty, your staff, your leadership for taking the initiative of being really truly an international high school in the midst of our Lutheran system. So any other questions? We're grateful for you and your team, Pastor Mayo, for their presentation.
Well,
if there are no other questions, and I don't see any of them posting, your words, Pastor Mayo, final words?
Well, we're very blessed and thankful for this opportunity, Terry, and for the honor of being able to present this. Thank you so much.